On this episode of Lapeef, Let's Talk.
That's not the question that they're asking, JB. They're not asking a question at all. They're just talking about what women are. Because most guys aren't solutions oriented, they're only complaining. But if they were trying to get it right once, then they would ask that question, but that's not the question that's being asked. Which is why I get so much pushback, because they're not looking for a solution, they're looking for an opportunity to vent, and that's different.
But Anton, here's the thing. You're saying they're not looking for solutions. I think you don't like the solutions that they've come up with, right? Because they
don't have a solution because they're not married. Why are they coming up with a solution instead of seeking the person that has the insight? How can they come up with a solution if they're not the ones that's getting success?
That's the point, Anton. So like the choosing to not get married is a solution, right? It may not be a solution.
Fair enough. But if that's the solution, then stop complaining about something that you're not interested in being a part of.
Okay, that's fair. That's fair.
Disagree with every person that's ever been on the panel.
Okay, here's a fair question then. Is it hard for you to agree with somebody that you don't align with?
No.
So you telling me, okay, so wait. So you telling me that the majority of Amira's points you disagree with?
I didn't say that, no.
I'm asking you.
I don't think she makes a lot of points. But I just, no. That's not a diss.
She's probably the most definitive from a woman's perspective as far as where she stands on specific points. Like she's very black and white on where she stands on things. So how don't she make a point?
Like I said, I agree with certain things she says, and I
just because you repeat it don't mean you're answering the question.
I am.
She's probably the most clear cut when it comes to where it is that she stands on specific issues. She's never wavering. She's never waffling. She's never in the air. She's never, I don't know, or anything like that. She's very much like, this is the way this is how I feel.
Point you want to ask me about?
I asked you, so I'm gonna re-ask the question. Are you telling me that the majority of the points that Amira make, because you said she don't make points, and I said that she does.
I didn't say that. I said I don't think she makes a lot of points.
Okay, the majority of the points that she makes
on Thursday a lot of times.
The majority of the points that she makes, you disagree with. Are you telling me that she's that far off?
If I disagree with her, I disagree. When I agree, I agree. I don't know what. If you can give me something specific, then I can answer. But I agree with her sometimes and sometimes I don't. What do you want me to do? Pretend I agree all the time? Like, what is this? Y'all think that people should just agree with somebody always or never?
I don't think that you can separate the person from the point is all I'm saying.
I think I can. Because I've agreed with literally every single person. Q, Kayla, Amira, Courtney, everybody. Chicago.
Thank you, God, for letting you agree with at least one point that everybody made. I mean,
I've agreed with something from everyone.
Okay.
I'm not sure what you're trying to
do. But here's the difference.
Yeah,
you agree with something from everyone, but you agree with the overwhelming majority of what Kayla says, is what we're saying.
Oh, so you're saying that like for optics, I should disagree with Kayla more often, even though I actually agree with her? Like, how does that even make sense?
What does optics have? Who said anything about optics?
Because you're talking about how do you just agree with mostly? Maybe, just maybe, me and Kayla agree on a lot of things in general. Like, I don't see what the problem is.
Okay.
So do you want me to just pretend that I disagree with her every now and then, just so that it doesn't look like I'm agreeing too much? Like, what?
No, I want you to hold each other accountable when you know that y'all talking BS. Oh, you don't understand that? What?
Optics.
Holding each other accountable when we're talking BS. That makes Anton. That makes no sense. That I have to hold another woman accountable.
Don't do it, Anton.
Come on, Kay.
That's optics, though. You want me to just appear that I'm not agreeing with somebody that I actually agree with. For what?
I mean,
that would be like me saying, Anton, how come you don't ever disagree with Amira? Blah blah blah. That would be like me saying that. Like, but wait, hold on, Q, hold on, Anton. That would be like me saying that why don't you ever disagree with Amira?
I do.
And I disagree with Kayla sometimes.
No, you don't. That's the whole point.
We had a whole conversation about blue collar versus white collar versus whatever collar, and me and her were not on the same page.
You had that on what show? On your show or on here?
Yes, on me and Kayla's show.
Right, but I think he's talking about on here.
Okay, it's not my fault that the topics that we talk about here lead us to agreements. Like, what do you want me to do?
Yeah, but then y'all also tag team on people as well.
Yep.
The same way that other people. Okay.
No, y'all definitely tag team.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness. Q, you just said you ain't seen a show before the one you've been on.
No,
so
I've been here for
months of shows before you.
I'm talking about the 4 shows. So if I've seen it on 4 shows,
the four.
Yeah, so if I've seen it on 4 shows, so you can imagine what it looks like.
I understand. It's the 4.
Okay, if we're talking right now, I bet you if Kayla was here, she would have jumped in.
The 4 shows. I understand.
Let's be honest.
I get it. The 4 shows.
But the thing is like, I was answering my question, and then you wanted to come in and ask questions about
I was actually talking to Anton.
Answer the question. So how can you come in and ask questions about my answer, but you deflected from answering the question? That's where
what did you want to answer to? I was talking to Anton.
No, this is where it stemmed from. Like the beginning, I was answering the question, and you wanted to come in on my answer, but you didn't even answer the question.
What do you want to answer to?
What? I didn't.
What do you want an answer to?
She wasn't looking for an answer.
Never mind. Got it.
Making a point.
I mean, you
saying that.
What's going on, JB?
Hi, JB. Hi, Jonathan.
You're the first one back. So what you got for us, bro?
JB.
What's up, Kay?
Hi, JB. And JB, I be seeing you in the comments about my annoying big sister.
Listen, Kay, you're the reason why I have to, take this ibuprofen 800. I told you this already.
I saw that too. So, stop,
JB. So here's I'm gonna be quick. So I wanted to touch on something Anton said because I think Anton, I think your voice is very important, right? I don't think that in the manosphere, right? You have most guys, I would say most guys in the manosphere are not pro-marriage, right? For all the reasons they state. But I think you have a lot of men who are actually pro-marriage, right? But the issue that I've heard from other men and even myself is that when you talk about it, it seems that you focus entirely on your own experiences, which we do want to know about your experiences, right? We do want to know about how you and your wife are able to have the dope union that you guys have. But I think what's missing is that, for example, sometimes you talk about women in a way where it's like these days, the women today, they don't behave like that, right? Whereas your wife, in the era that you married her, right, the time when you married her and how you guys have grown together, that changes the dynamic for you. But the guys who are currently on the market, they're dealing with something completely different. So a lot of guys who are pro-marriage that you could have on your side, they're looking at it's almost like you don't have a clue what we're dealing with in the current dating pool, right? So I think that's the main issue. It's not that the pro-marriage guys are not are against you, because the guys who are not pro-marriage are just gonna be against you regardless, right? They'll even disagree with Kevin if a lot of them will disagree with Kevin, even though they agree with Kevin on 90% of things. The one marriage thing will make them. So those guys, I don't think it's worth it to worry about them. But the guys who are pro-marriage, I think that's where the issue is, in my opinion.
But why is it an issue if, for example, I gave you the game about building a network and finding a wife, right? Mm-hmm. You accepted that and you was like, yeah, I'm gonna have to take that into consideration. Why is it an issue?
Well, that in particular is not an issue, right? But I'll give you an example of something.
Because I'll okay, go ahead. Give me an example, and then we'll go there.
An example is the more recent conversation, right? Where basically when you for example, when you talk about there's 300 there's around 300 million people in America, and then if you divide it in half, there's 150, right? When you just say there's this many people, there's this many women out there, you can't find one. That I think that's missing the point. And so a lot of guys will hear that and they're like, you're missing the point. And also, I think there's a certain, I don't know if you say it like this, but
what's the point that I'm missing?
the point you're missing is that it's not that, first of all, the fact that there's 150 million people is actually kind of an irrelevant stat, right? Or an irrelevant number, because you're still limited to your region, wherever you're at, right? So that's the first thing, right? So that number doesn't really mean much when you actually think about it practically. The second thing is, then once you look at it based on your region, there's going to be different scenarios depending on where you actually are. So there's some points that could be made there. But overall, the main points that guys are making is that overwhelmingly, today's woman is very career focused. Is very, especially when we're talking about Black women, they're very. You hear a lot of this independent mindset that they think just because they got a job.
Why would I care about what all of the women are doing if I only got to get it right once?
Right, but the question is, how do you get it right the first time, or how do you get it right once? That's the question.
But that's not the question that they're asking, JB. They're not asking a question at all. They're just talking about what women are. Because most guys aren't solutions oriented, they're only complaining. But if they were trying to get it right once, then they would ask that question, but that's not the question that's being asked. Which is why I get so much pushback, because they're not looking for a solution, they're looking for an opportunity to vent, and that's different.
But Anton, here's the thing. You're saying they're not looking for solutions. I think you don't like the solutions that they've come up with, right? Because they
don't have a solution because they're not married. Why are they coming up with a solution instead of seeking the person that has the insight? How can they come up with a solution if they're not the ones that's getting success?
That's the point, Anton. So like the choosing to not get married is a solution, right? It may not be a solution.
Fair enough. But if that's the solution, then stop complaining about something that you're not interested in being a part of.
Okay, that's fair. That's fair.